when you ask questions about what you want, about what you want. Am I allowed to have this? Am I allowed to have this? Can this really be seen? Can this really be seen, known and realized? Known and realized. You are questioning an aspect of self. You are questioning an aspect of self, the small self you see, the small self you see, who does not know what she is allowed, who does not know what she is allowed, what he might claim, what he might claim, what he may conjure, what he may conjure and accept as his own, and accept as his own, the true self as you, the true self as you, who was born without limitation, who was born without limitation, who does not need to request, who does not need to request because he knows his inheritance, because he knows his inheritance is who moves to authority, is who moves to authority in what we call the upper room, and what we call the upper room, or the octave of expression, or the octave of expression. The true self expresses through, that the true self expresses through. If you truly understand what I'm saying, if you truly understand what we are saying the days of asking, we are saying that the days of asking may be rendered old, obsolete, and you may know in a new way, and you may know in a new way because you comprehend the source, your unity with source, has given you what you require, has given you what you require prior to even asking, Now you must understand. Now you must understand that the aspect of you who denies the divine self, who would say it cannot be so, who would say it cannot be so, is the one who is ruling your lives, is the one who is ruling your lives. And because you are a victim, and because you are a victim of what you have inherited, through the collective, I'm allowed so much, I am only allowed so much, I cannot have this or that, I cannot have this or that. People are not allowed to know God. People are not allowed to know God as these guides say they do, because you understand yourself in limitation, because you understand yourself in limitation, or denying God. You are denying God, or the source of all things, that is, of course, indeed your supply, that is, of course, indeed your supply. If the energy of the Creator is not your supply, is not your supply. What you see before you must be, be it your employer, be it your employer, your bank account, your partner, your place in society, because you abnegate authority, to the social structures you've inherited, to the religions you've been born into, to the religions you have been born into. You have created idols, and you feel victimized, and then you feel victimized by the idols themselves, Society doesn't serve me. The medical profession doesn't serve me. The medical profession doesn't serve me. Nobody helps. As they should. You look to these things for the source of your time. You look to these things for the source of your supply, not the source of all things, and not the source of all things, who is indeed your benefactor, Now, why is this so? It's really a very simple answer. You have the source created you. You are of the source that created you. If you only understood this, everything could change. Everything could change if everyone understood this. If everyone understood this, everything would change for everybody. Everything would change for everybody. Now, the true self as you knows this to be a fact, doesn't question it, as it's given purview, and as it is given purview, as it is claimed, as who you are, and what you are, and how you serve, and how you serve. There is an alchemization in the energetic field. There is an alchemization in the energetic field that supports your release, of the old, what you have damned, that damns you back, the idols and thrones, these pillars that you've conjured, that hold up an artificial reality, that hold up an artificial reality. Your acceptance of the divine, your acceptance of the divine, where these things seem to be, where these things seem to be, is what will reclaim you, is what will reclaim you. But as you continue to impasse, to deny, to refute the presence of God, to refute the presence of God, where these things seem to be, you align to the idols, the politics of the day, the diagnosis of the moment, the religions that you see, that claim to hold truth, and perhaps do in some cases, but have been distorted by the denial of the divine, in anyone else but them, Now, the true self that has come as you, does not question its source, does not question its source. It is the small self. It is the small self, personality structure indoctrinated into the old, that suffers so greatly, and your suffering, we must say, is only one thing, the denial of the divine, where what seems to be there has taken its place, serves to rule you, and what serves to rule you, what you've created a God of, what you have created a God of, will deny the light, that it seeks to block, Now, we will explain this for some of you. You can have any God you want. You can have any God you want. You can have the God of suffering. You can have the God of suffering. The God leaves you alone. The God that leaves you alone. The God that never was. The God that never was and never could be and never could be. You are aligning to your idea of God, in every moment of every day, in every moment of every day. The God of benefit. The God of benefit is not the God that fills your bank account, is not the God that fills your bank account, makes you famous, makes your dreams come true, if in fact your dreams are born through the collective heresy of what God should be, God should make me this or that. God should make me this or that because I say so, the final self, the true self, the eternal self, who knows who it is, is what gifts you with your soul's desire, Your soul's desire may be rather different, than the personality structure would have it be, The soul's desire is what will serve its evolution, and the requirements of a lifetime, and the requirements of a lifetime are in service to this progression, the progression of a soul, through lifetimes, your idea of lifetimes, or your idea of lifetimes, because each lifetime is in fact the facet of one crystal, different ways of the light being reflected, different ways of the light being refracted or reflected into a reality that you have called forth, individually and collectively to learn through, because the divine self is of the soul, and because will is of the soul, and because will is of the soul, the alignment to will in a higher octave, implicitly creates the opportunity for the soul to become illumined, What is an illumined soul? What is an illumined soul? It is the Christ. In varying manifestations of accord of accord, A-C-C-O-R-D, A-C-C-O-R-D, A-C-H-O-R-D, A-C-H-O-R-D, as on a piano, as on a piano. If you imagine the Christ, if you imagine the Christ or divine seed or spark, or divine seed or spark expressing in you already, expressing in you already, you might imagine a flame, you might imagine a flame that seeks to encompass you, but cannot encompass you, but cannot encompass you without your willingness to release, without your willingness to release. What obscures it? What obscures it? What stands in its way? What stands in its way? And much of what stands in its way, and much of what stands in its way are the things that rule you, are the things that rule you, your opinions or ideas, your opinions or ideas of how the world should be, of how the world should be and what you should be in it, and what you should be in it, which is always born or predicated by the personality structure, that has inherited a world, that would tell it what it should expect, that would tell it what it should expect or lose, or deny, if you understand fundamentally. If you understand fundamentally and foundationally the divine self as you, that the divine self as you knows what you require, is opportunizing everything, to your benefit, and your benefit may be your learning, and your benefit may be your learning, or your release of the obstacles, that stand in its way of its beneficence, that stand in the way of its beneficence, its ability to love through you, its ability to love through you, to love all equally through you. You will understand that the meaning of this teaching, the gift of this teaching, is the true self, as manifest at the level or degree, that you can hold it in. Paul interrupts. You are stressing levels and degrees. Would you explain this, please? Some of you will come to the altar. The God within you, and say, take my shame, but let me keep my pride, take my anger, but let's keep my fear, but I must keep my fear. And you will gift yourself, only at that level, of acquiescence, keep my fear. Is always granted. Let me hold on to my pride a while longer. My arrogance a bit more. My disease, my need to be less than, a bit more. You will be granted these wishes. Because you have free will, It must be your choice. To offer the self, at the altar, and say, you may have me. Now the you you're offering yourself to, now the you that you are offering yourself to is not your idea of God, is the implicit light. It is the implicit light that is already present in you, that knows the requirements for growth, for your growth, and will call to your experience, and will call to your experience the life lived, the opportunities to learn. If you shift your focus for half a moment, and stop being victimized, by your circumstances, and instead see the opportunity, that they are presenting, you will live a vastly different life. You will live a vastly different life than you are conceiving yourself in, at this moment in time, But that shift of focus But that shift of focus to potential to potential, I may learn through this, I may learn through this, but I need to put down my sword, but I need to put down my sword. I may learn through this, I may learn through this, but I need to release the fear, but I need to release the fear. I may learn through this, I may learn through this, but I must stop seeing myself as a victim, but I must stop seeing myself as a victim to circumstance. To circumstance will always be met, will always be met. We will say this again. We will say this again. It will always be met. It will always be met by your experience, because your experience always mirror, because your experience is always the mirror of your consciousness, your experience of yourself in lack, while an opportunity to learn, while an opportunity to learn. You may learn the lessons of lack if you wish. You may learn the lessons of lack if you wish. They're very valuable lessons. They are very valuable lessons in the most generous heart. And the most generous heart is the one that has known deep lack, is the one that has known deep lack and wishes to support others in their well-being and wishes to support others in their well-being. Or you may learn the lesson, or you may learn the lesson of receipt. You will learn the lessons of receipt. You will learn the lessons of receipt when you say you may, when you say you may, but the consciousness you hold at the level of accord you can come to, at the level of accord you can come to, is what will make this so, is what will make this so. The one who believes is going to love, the one who believes he cannot be loved will refute love as it is offered to him or her, as it is offered to him or her. The one who denies the presence of God, the one who denies the presence of God may pat himself on the back, when he witnesses the ills of the world, when he witnesses the ills of the world, and say, how can there be God? And say, how can there be God when there is such pain, when there is such pain, such poverty, if the opportunity is to end the pain, or find release for the poverty, or find release for the poverty. You have mission. You have a mission and a way of being in the world, and a way of being in the world where the analyzed idea of what caused something, is then replaced by the answer to the problem, which exists in the upper room, Understand this, friends. Understand this, friends, as you align to what we call the upper room, as you align to what we call the upper room, which is the octave of vibration, above the one you know yourself through, above the one you know yourself through. What is known there? What is known there is utilized in the lower field, Every great act of recognition, every moment of truth, every moment of truth that you have ever experienced, was of the upper room, or the true self, knowing itself through you, every great idea, true idea that has supported humanity in its well-being, in its well-being, has been known from this place, and the one who knows it, need not be a genius, but a level of recognition, of its source, that you may be present, for the recognition, as it comes, the true self as you. The true self as you is here to be known, is here to be known, is here to be lifted, is here to be lifted, is here to be sung as you, is here to be sung as you. The antidote for all pain, the antidote for all pain, all poverty, all despair. All despair is of the upper room, Stop trying to find it. Stop trying to find it in the help wanted ads, in the help wanted as another class in another class, another treatise on conscious, another treatise on consciousness. You must find it. You must find it in the heart that can align to its own recognition, to its own recognition of its right to claim this, of its right to claim this. What indeed are you claiming? What indeed are you claiming? Your own inheritance, your own inheritance. You've heard the claim. You have heard the claim. It is the Father's good wish. It is the Father's good wish to gift you with the kingdom, to gift you with the kingdom. That's true. It's true. The kingdom is the awareness of the divine in all things. In all things, you may call it Father. You may call it Father or Mother or nothing at all or nothing at all. It matters not. It matters not. The use of the term Father, the use of the term Father in patriarchy. In patriarchy was the one who gifted his offspring, was the one who gifted his offspring with his inheritance, It's why the term has been used. It's why the term has been used. You are gifted indeed. You are gifted indeed with what was always yours, with what was always yours, but the denial of the divine, but the denial of the divine, or the Father or the Mother, or the Father or the Mother is what keeps you from it, What finds the Father, reclaims the Father. What reclaims the Father is not your mental agility, but the surrendered heart, who says, I am willing to know, who says, I am willing to know, I am willing to be known, I am willing to be known, I am going to be reclaimed, I am willing to be reclaimed because of myself. I am nothing. I am nothing. The egoic structure, the personality self. The personality self seeks credit for her acts, You can have it. She can have it. That will be her reward. The true self knows herself. The true self knows herself as free of obligation. The mirror that she uses, to perceive reality. To perceive reality is a higher mirror, is not dependent on the fashions of the moment, the edicts of the time, nor the traumas of a nation, We will say this to you. Your nation right now, and many nations, are in trauma, and the benefit of this will be seen, in potential as a release, from the fear, that you've been claimed in, since the beginning of time, A country has a karma, a society has a karma, a religion has a karma, a collective field, that amasses data, and must repay its debts, You are aligned to the karma. You are aligned to the karma of a country, or a religion, or a societal claim, be it racial, be it religious, be it about your sexual identity, Any name you have claimed, has consequence, because the collective that claims it, also shares karma, which simply means collective identity, and authorization, to be released from these things, which we intend to teach you this weekend, which we intend to teach you this weekend, is to be lifted above them, to the expression of the divine that knows itself beyond hereditary claims, that knows itself beyond hereditary claims, the country of birth, the country of birth, the gender born into, the gender born into, the reasons you fear, through what you have been taught, through what you have been taught, through racial divide, economic divide, religious divide, ageist divide. All these divides are one thing. All these divides are one thing and can only be one thing and can only be one thing: the denial of the divine, the denial of the divine that expresses in separation, There's only one thing, and there is only one thing that claims the non-divine, that claims the denial of the divine, and that is fear. And that is fear. Know it or not, the parade of the ego, see my self-importance, or see my lack of importance, or see my lack of importance is still fear, playing itself out in a masquerade of expression. There is no human being. There is no human being more worthy than the next, or less loved, by the source of all things, as humanity does. It is humanity that does this. Now a soul may choose a hard lesson. I will be born without sight. I will be born without sight. I will be born to family. I will be born into a family that thinks I am awful, I am not allowed to pray in the church of my choice, because of who I love, You may choose hard lessons. And learn good lessons through them, You may triumph over all things. You may triumph over all things if you claim their worth, if you claim the worth of the son, of the daughter who knows her parentage, which is of source. You cannot be separate from God. You cannot be separate from God, but you may believe yourself in separation, but you may believe yourself in separation. You may love your fellow. You may love your fellow as much as you can, but keep your fear, of losing him or her, in your back pocket, and forget how what's in the back pocket taints the love you feel, taints the love you feel. You may understand yourself. As worthy if your fellows say you are. But who are you? If you are not measuring up? If you are not measuring up to the expectations, society would claim you in. If that makes you less worthy, you have created a God. You have created a God out of the expectations of culture, out of the expectations of a culture, and you will suffer accordingly, We are teaching now. In preparation for a new text. This is not in the text. That was for Paul who asked. We have much to speak about this weekend. And finally we say, your true inheritance, God's gift to you, or the source for all things, an agreement to you, and underline the word agreement, It means accord. ACCORD, ACCORD, as on a piano. The accord to source. Is the agreement, and the acceptance, And as you say, yes, I may. And as you say, yes, I may. Yes, I may learn. Yes, I may learn. Yes, I may know. Yes, I may know. Yes, I may be seen. Yes, I may be seen as who and what I truly am, as who and what I truly am. You may be reclaimed. You may be reclaimed. You may be renowned. You may be renowned. You may be gifted. You may be gifted with what has always been yours, with what has always been yours, and you have denied, or been denied, or refuted, disclaimed, or decided could never be, or decided could never be. We sing your songs for you. We sing your songs for you, so you may learn the words, so that you may learn the words. And as you begin to sing, the consequence of the song that is sung through you, is a new world, a new world. A new world is being born now on this plane. A new world is being born now on this plane, and much of what you see, the turmoil and fear is the release of the old, the appearance of the shadow, that you've thought to be true, that must be seen, as what it has always been, fear, and the denial of the God, of the God that is indeed all things, that is indeed all things, underline all things. God must be all things. God must be all things, or can be no thing at all, or can be no thing at all. There is one note sung. There is one note sung in this universe you see, in this one note, and this one note is played in different tone, at different levels of manifestation, the body you sit in, the sky above you, the ocean, sea, air, all you see is an expression of this one note, is an expression of this one note. You are of this note. You are of this note. All things are. All things are. You have said no. You have said no. You have been agreed to at that level. You have been agreed to at that level. You have will. You have will. You may deny God in yourself or all things. You may deny God in yourself or all things. We will not stand in your way. We will not stand in your way, but we will say these words to you. But we will say these words to you, and they are always true, and they are always true. We know who you are. We know who you are. We know what you are. We know what you are. We know how you serve. We know how you serve, and indeed it is always true. And indeed it is always true at the level of the divine self, at the level of the divine self, that you are free, you are free, you are free, that you are free, you are free, you are free. You are free. We'll take a pause a minute, chair. We will take a pause for the man in the chair. We will come back in one moment. We will come back in one moment. Period, period, period. Period, period, period.